What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today, I am talking about running back values. These are guys that where they're going currently in average draft position are giving you guys a value. That means that they're going to return based on where they're currently be drafted and finish higher in fantasy football. Obviously, no guarantees, injuries, things like that happen, but these are some guys that are currently being drafted too low, and if you take advantage of it, you can get a great advantage over your league mates, help fill out those RB spots, and still have those studs at those wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end spots. If you guys are new to the channel, though, hit that subscribe button. Wide receiver values coming out shortly, sleepers, busts, league winners, all that stuff still coming out, rankings, everything you need on this channel. If you want to win a fantasy championship, hit that subscribe button right now before you leave. Like the video, please hit the up in the comments down below. It really helps out the algorithm. Okay, so running backs. My first running back value, and for values, no one was allowed to be used in the first 2 rounds. Our first guy, James Cook, currently going as a RB14, the 404 in drafts. Now, the reason being that I'm so high on him, last year he finished as an RB11, scoring only 2 touchdowns on the ground. Now, touchdowns have never really been massive for Cook, but the role that he had last year with Joe Brady increased dramatically once he took over. Once Joe Brady was offensive coordinator, who's offensive coordinator this year, he averaged 19.6 touches per game, 104.3 total yards per game, and an 11.4% target share. Here's another stat I'll throw out there because obviously the touchdowns weren't there last year. 48.1% of snaps inside the 20 with Joe Brady for James Cook that last year. Now, like I said, being able to finish as an RB11 and score 2 rushing touchdowns just shows how efficient and how explosive of a back he was. His stats were good this last season. As you can see, 4.7 yards per carry, 10 yards per reception, had 4 receiving touchdowns. I think he's going to catch a ton of passes this upcoming season. They've lost a ton of targets. The running back position is usually one that gains a lot when targets go down for a team. I expect that to happen for him, and I expect him to be an explosive enough runner to be able to manufacture a few more touchdowns on his own. And I think he'll get some carries inside the 10, inside the 20 this year. He's able to turn into touchdowns. Not even saying he's going to be a touchdown monster, but I think he's explosive enough to easily have 6 to 8 touchdowns on the ground. You add in how explosive he is through the air and the volume I expect him to receive. I think James Cook is going to finish as an RB1. I think he's extremely talented, and you can currently get him outside of that RB1 range at RB14. And he plays on a good offense that's going to have to lean on him. I just think they're all in on him. He's looked really good as a player. Really, the only thing that held him back last year was touchdowns. And like I said, I don't see a reason why touchdowns can't bounce back in a major way for him moving forward. So next up on our running back values, we gotta scroll down a little bit for this one. He is currently going at the RB21, and it's David Montgomery. Now Montgomery this last season, it was an RB13 in 2023. He missed 3 games as well. And the big reason that I'm so high on Monty is that I don't see him losing that goal line role to Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I think Gibbs is an excellent player, but 13 rushing touchdowns last year, had over 1,000 yards on the ground. Not a ton in the passing game, but I really expect him to be that goal line back still moving forward. I think Gibbs will get more work. It'll be a little bit more of a split, but I easily see this as an offense being able to score 2 guys scoring 8 to 10 touchdowns each, and then more than that as well. But that's kind of the baseline of where I expect each of them to be at. So I really think that he's going to score a ton of touchdowns still this year. I still think they're going to use him in short yard situations on first and second down. Still, he's going to get 180, 200 something carries. He's going to have a really good chance at double-digit touchdowns. He's not the most exciting guy, but when you can get him at RB21, plug him in as your RB2. And honestly, I see him going later than RB21 all the time. He's one of those guys I see, right now he's going as the first pick in the 6th round. If I could get David Montgomery in the 6th round, I'd be pretty excited about it. Like I said, I see him going lower than that. But easy candidate for double-digit touchdowns with how good this offensive line is and this offense in general. I just see this very similar to Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, their second year in the league, where Mark Ingram was fantastic for fantasy football as well. Even though Kamara finished really high as a rookie, everyone was all over Kamara, and he was fantastic for fantasy football as well. This is not an anti-Gibbs take. I just think David Montgomery has fallen too far in drafts for the touchdown upside that he has and just how consistent of a producer he should be next year. I mean, he had basically a touchdown per game. Even that comes down to 0.75 touchdowns per game. He's still going to be fantastic for fantasy football. We're drafting him right now. And yeah, like I said, if I just really like the idea of you could start your draft taking, 3 to 4 first receivers with your first pick, snag a running back in round 3 or something, come back around in round 6 and be able to get David Montgomery as your RB2, and I'd feel pretty good about that team build heading into the season. Moving on to our next player, it is Ramondre Stevenson, or excuse me, not Ramondre Stevenson, Raheem Mostert. I got confused looking for the name. But okay, so Mostert this last year was fantastic for fantasy football. He finishes as RB2 in 2023, a big reason why he scored 21 total touchdowns. Now, I'm not saying he's going to score 21 total touchdowns, but I do think he's another guy that hangs on to this goal line role that people think is going away. They're passing on him for the new hotness was Devon Achane. Um, but I really don't see them giving the ball to Achane on the goal line like everyone thinks they're going to. Mostert was a really good football player last year. He signed an extension with the team, and I really just don't see them giving the ball to a 180, 190 pound running back in Achane on the goal line. When you have a guy like Raheem Mostert from last year who's under contract that was so efficient in that role and efficient in so many aspects. Like I was going to say, 4.8 yards per carry is a fantastic number to couple with those rushing touchdowns. I just think he's another guy who still has a very easy case for 10 touchdowns the way the Dolphins offense works. They scored a ton of points this last season. Mostert was a big reason why, and they're not going to break their second year back just handing him the ball over and over and over again. Mostert's still going to be a big element of this team, especially in the rushing attack. I think Achane will be used more in the passing game. I think Achane can still be very valuable for fantasy football. I'm not saying I would take Mostert over Achane straight up, but I think the gap has become way too wide, and Mostert's being left for dead. I mean, you can get Mostert basically in around 7 or 8 of your draft right now. And like I said, when was the last time you were able to get the RB2 in scoring from the year before that late in your drafts? That still, has basically the same role he had the year before. Like I said, I do think Achane's role gets bigger, so maybe it's not the exact same, but that goal line role is his. Make no mistakes about it. They might use him in some, creative ways to get him the ball around the goal line, Achane that being. But Mostert is going to be the guy when they're trying to pound the ball and trying to run it in very close. He's going to be the guy getting the ball the vast majority of the time. And I could easily see him scoring 12 touchdowns. And if he does that, I guarantee you he won't be the RB25 in fantasy football this year. Okay, we got one more guy, and I just want to mention him as a honorable mention. But he is a guy I do believe in, and it's Tyjae Spears. So you see him going currently as the RB35. Some things I just want to point out about Spears this last year. 4.5 yards per carry as a rookie. That's a good number, especially when you consider the offense he played in, how poor the Tennessee Titans were at football last year. But this number over here, 52 receptions as a rookie, is fantastic. 7.4 yards per reception. That's a great number as well. And if you compare these numbers to Tony Pollard's last year with the Cowboys, who had a much better offensive line, one of the better offensive lines in football, and much better offense in general, scoring like crazy. Pollard averaged 4.0 yards per carry last year, so Tyjae Spears was a half a yard better than him per carry with a worse team and a worse offensive line. And he caught 5.7 yards per reception. And then again, he's at 7.4. So this is a back, Tyjae Spears is showing how efficient he is. Tony Pollard is showing how inefficient he is. I think there's a real chance. It could have been Tony Pollard coming off that injury last year, but there's a real chance Tony Pollard is just not the same player he was in the NFL. We see this happen to running backs all the time. They're not an offense that looks to be super impressive. I think Tyjae Spears is a better running back on this team, and you can get him at RB35 value. I just want to mention him. I think he's an exciting young player. I think he's going to have to fight for that role. I don't think it's going to hand to him by any means, but I do think he is a better player. I think he's a good football player. I think if he gets 200 carries this year, catches 50 passes, he's going to be somebody people are very happy with in fantasy football. His touchdown opportunity should go up dramatically this year with Derrick Henry gone. He was never the guy on the goal line with Henry. You see that with the 2 rushing touchdowns. If he doubles his carries, gets 200 this year, has 900 something yards, can rush in 7 touchdowns, and have the same role he has in the passing game, he is going to be a very viable fantasy football running back. I mean, he was close last year, as you can see the fantasy points per the games. That's not an awful number, and yeah, he's going to be much more involved this year. I think he's a talented football player that I'd be excited to draft at RB35. Alrighty, if you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to hit that subscribe button. Wide receiver values is still coming out. I have it all prepped. We're going to make that video very soon. We have quarterbacks I'm going to come out with, league winners and busts, sleepers, all that stuff you're going to want to see. So stick around, trust me, and I will guide you throughout the fantasy football regular season as well. So hit that subscribe button, stick around. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest.